Today's podcast looks at the song The Foggy Dew, a tale of seduction and lasting love. I'll look at what we know about its origins, its variations and printing history. I'll sing samples of the song tunes and end on a full performance. One night as I lay in my bed, as I lay fast asleep, a pretty maid came to my room, most bitterly she did weep. She wrung her hands and tore her hair, crying, "Oh, what shall I do? Come into me bed, my pretty fair maid, for fear of the foggy dew, 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 for fear of the foggy dew." Now in the first part of the night, how they did sport and play, and in the next part of the night, all in me arms she lay. And there we lay all that long night, till daylight did appear. Come rise, pretty maid, and don't be afraid, for the foggy dew is gone, 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 for the foggy dew is gone. That tune and words were collected in December 1903 by Cecil Sharp from two sisters, Lucy White and Louis Hooper, of Hambridge in Somerset. A young man is in his bed when his true love enters his bedroom, stating that she wants to stop the night for fear of the foggy dew. Next morning she is distressed because she slept with her lover. He promises to marry her. The origin of the song is not known, but the earliest reference to the song is a broadside printing from the 1680s under the title The Frightened Yorkshire Damozel. This early ballad has the young man employing a friend to dress up in a sheet and pretend to be a bogeyman or a bugaboo in order to frighten the young girl who retreats to her lover's bedroom for safety. The tale is resolved in line with other versions of the Foggy Dew, in that in the morning the girl is dismayed at sleeping the night with her lover. He promises to marry her and often smiles when he thinks of the bugaboo. Other broadside ballads were printed of a similar nature under the title of the Boogie Boo and variations of this name. Whether this ballad is the origin of the Foggy Dew song or whether it was a rewrite of a song already in circulation is difficult to determine. All we have are the broadside printings from that early date. There are very few samples of the Boogie Boo version of the ballad collected from traditional singers in Britain. A set of words were collected by Gavin Gregg from Belle Robertson, who had learned it from her mother. Unfortunately, he didn't obtain the tune. It's worth noting that there was another song with the title The Bugaboo, which is a comic song telling of misadventures of a sailor on board a ship called the Bugaboo, which ends with the ship catching fire. This version was printed in 1898 in New York in a collection named 617 Irish Songs and Ballads, and was reprinted in Colm O'Loughlin's collection More Irish Street Songs in 1965. A revised version of the Foggy Dew ballad was printed in the 1770s under the title of The Bachelor Brave. Gone was the bogeyman, and the more familiar Foggy Dew now ends the verse line. When I was a bachelor, airy and young, I followed the rakish trade, and all the comfort that I had was in courting a fair young maid. I courted her all the winter month, and part of the summer too, but ne'er her favour could I gain, because of the foggy dew. One night she came to my bedside, when I lay fast asleep. One night she came to my bedside, so near to me did creep. She wept, she wailed, she wrung her hands, alas, what shall I do? I said, fair maid, lie still a while, you'll be in from the foggy dew. All the first part of the night we both did sport and play, and in the next part of the night she lay in me arms till day. But when broad daylight did appear, she says, I am undone. So I said to her, lie still a while, for the foggy dew is gone. Up she rose, put on her clothes, 2 hours before 'twas day. Up she rose, put on her clothes, so nimbly she tripped away. She tripped o'er yon high, high hill, as she comely used to do. I heard her sigh and say goodbye when she thinks of the foggy dew. That tune and words were collected by Gavin Gregg in the early 1900s from Annie Ritchie of Aberdeenshire. The tune was used by other singers from that area. The ballad was revised again in the 1800s by further broadside versions under the title of The Foggy Dew. This reduced the song down even further. These later broadsides clearly influenced the words used by the British singers that were collected in the early 1900s. The collectors in the early years of Folk Song Society found the song to be quite widespread in the south and east of England. There were 2 main tune variants. The first tune I sang at the beginning of the podcast was collected by Cecil Sharp in Somerset. Other versions collected by Sharp also used that tune. The other tune variation used was the traditional tune used by Robert Burns for his poem Ye Banks and Braes of Bonnie Doon. The words themselves varied as might be expected, but generally conformed to the later broadside version. Here is a version collected by Cecil Sharp in December 1908 from William Stokes of Chew Stoke in Somerset. This version uses the Banks and Braes of Bonnie Doon tune. 'Twas in the first part of the night we passed our time away, and in the latter part of the night, for she stayed with me till day. And when broad daylight did appear, she cried, I am undone. Oh, hold your tongue, you silly girl, for the foggy dew was gone. Supposing that you should have a child, what need you have to fear? Supposing that you should have another, what need have we to care? And suppose that we should have another, and another, and another one too. 'Twould make you think of your foolish tricks, and about the foggy dew. I loved that girl most dearly, I loved her as me life. I took this girl and married her, made her my lawful wife. I've never told her of her faults, and never intend to do. But every time she smiles at me, I think of the foggy dew. In 1927, the American poet Carl Sandburg edited a collection of American folk songs named The American Song Bag. It included a version of the song under the title of The Foggy, Foggy Dew, which he had heard sung by a singing group at the Eclectic Club of the Wesleyan University in Connecticut. Sandburg printed only the first 2 verses. The tune had a more popular style, similar to other popular composed ballads of the 1920s. He recorded the song in 1937 on a record of American folk songs named From the American Song Bag. In this recording, he sang a 3rd verse which tells of the couple having a son and a child living with a father who's a bachelor. This ending does not occur in the British versions recorded prior to 1930, and it's clearly an addition by the American singers, perhaps to give a more moral message. This version, under the title of The Foggy, Foggy Dew, and its bugaboo variation, was a favourite tavern song and clearly popular with students, and might possibly have been sung in the early vaudeville shows. The song was printed in a number of American drinking song compilations and reprinted in 1960 in the Alan Lomax collection Folk Songs of North America. When I was a bachelor, I lived by myself. I worked at the weaver's trade. The only thing I did that was wrong was to woo a fair young maid. I wooed her in the winter time and in the summer too. And the only thing I did that was wrong was to keep her from the foggy, foggy dew. One night she knelt close to my side when I was fast asleep. She threw her arms around my neck, and she began to weep. She wept, she cried, she tore her hair. Ah me, what could I do? So all night long I held her in me arms just to keep her from the foggy, foggy dew. Again I'm a bachelor, I live with me son. We work at the weaver's trade. And every single time I look into his eyes, he reminds me of the fair young maid. He reminds me of the winter time, part of the summer too. And many, many times that I held her in me arms just to keep her from the foggy, foggy dew. This popular American variation seems to have returned to England at the time of the Second World War, probably with the American troops arriving to help the fight against Hitler's forces. It became very popular in Britain. In the late 1940s, Benjamin Britten made an arrangement of Sam Bird's collected version of the song, and it was recorded and sung by Peter Pears. This too became popular in the orchestral concert circuit, although it was apparently banned by the BBC. The American singer Burl Ives recorded the song, and it was included in the Burl Ives Songbook in 1953. This became a favourite among the growing folk revival singers both in Great Britain and North America, and was played on the radio quite frequently. Later versions recorded from traditional singers in England, such as Fred Jordan and Dick Corbett, are clearly influenced by hearing the Burl Ives version of the song on the radio. These British singers have added back some of the verses from the earlier English versions of the song, making it a singable hybrid variation. There are three other songs that have the title The Foggy Dew. First, a version that tells of the love of a milkmaid by a farmer's son. The song probably started off as a formal poem with a rural romantic theme. It was printed on several broadside issues in the early to mid-1800s. The broadsides that I've found have differing words and action, but results in the young farmer marrying the milkmaid. There are two examples of the song printed by the song collectors. One, a tune collected by Frank Kidson, which was taken from an 1825 manuscript of fiddle tunes noted from a Yorkshire musician, and a version collected in 1906 by Gavin Gregg, a tune and one verse only, from Arthur Barron, who lived at Mains of Whitehall in Aberdeen. What shepherd was like me so blessed to tend his fleecy care? For welcome unto yonder hill I freely did repair. 'Twas on a bank of mossy turf where violets sweetly grew. 'Twas there I sat to tend my flocks down among the foggy dew. To view the beauties of yon wood I climbed a lofty hill, where golden flowers adorned the grove close by a trickling rill. And when I near my cottage came, my lambs together drew, I espied a maid with a milking pail down among the foggy dew. Down in the dale sweet ivory grows, 'tis there my mother dwells. My father he's a husbandman, and tolls o'er yonder hills. And I alone through frost and snow, a milking goes, 'tis true. 'Tis charity to pity me among the foggy dew. That tune and first verse was collected by Gavin Gregg from Arthur Barron in 1906. I've added the verses from the broadside version printed by James Harkness of Preston. You'll notice that the tune is very similar to the other tunes of Foggy Dew collected by Gavin Gregg in that area. The second version was very popular in Ireland and USA. The words were composed by E. H. Milligan, using a traditional Irish tune. The song was recorded by the popular Irish tenor John McCormack in New Jersey, USA in January 1913. and became extremely popular in Britain and North America. Oh, down the hill I went one morn, a lovely maid I spied. Her hair was bright as the dew that went, sweet banners seldom ride. And where go ye, sweet maid, said I, and she raised her eyes of blue, and smiled and said, the boy I wed, I'm to meet in the foggy dew. Go hide your clothes, you roses red, and droop, you lilies fair, or you must pale for very shame before a maid so fair. Said I, dear maid, will you be my bride? She raised her eyes of blue, and smiled and said, the boy I wed, I'm to meet in the foggy dew. Oh, down the hill I went one morn, a-singing I did go. Oh, down the hill I went one morn, she answered sweet and low. Yes, I will be your own dear bride, and I know that you'll be true. Then spied in my arms, and all her charms were hidden in the foggy dew. The third is a well-known Irish song written in 1919 by Charles O'Neill, a Catholic priest, that tells about the 1916 Easter Rising, when Ireland strive for home rule against the English ruling oppression. He used a tune that was used for the John McCormack version in 1913 and the song framework for his new version. I don't intend to expand on this fine song, as its only connection with the ballad under review is the title of the Foggy Dew, and the song is explored in a number of excellent articles available on the internet. As down the glen one Easter morn to a city fair rode I, the armed lines of marching men in squadrons passed me by. No pipe did hum, no battle drum did sound its loud tattoo. The Angelus bell or the Liffey swell rang out in the foggy dew. Right proudly high o'er Dublin town they hung out the flag of war. 'Twas better to die 'neath an Irish sky than in Suvla or Sud El Bar. As from the plains of Royal Meath strong men came hurrying through, while Britain's son with the long-range gun sailed in from the foggy dew. The traditional version of the Foggy Dew has attracted a lot of discussion as to its origin. There's so little evidence of its original version that the discussion seems pointless. Tunes and words sung by the country folk were not noted down until the late 1700s. The song has been around for at least 340 years. In that time, the ballad has attracted a variety of tunes, several printed rewrites, and numerous reworkings from singers who've added to and changed it for their own version of the song, whether intentionally or due to mishearing or substitution of forgotten lines. This is what we refer to as the oral process. Opinions as to the meaning of the term the Foggy Dew and whether Boogie Boo versions are actually the origin or just a rewrite for the broadside market is also an area of some discussion. As a singer, I have to wonder if it matters. It's a fine song to sing. Whichever version of the traditional variations of the Foggy Dew you might sing, it will be rewarding. There are some fine tunes both in Britain and North America. The words vary as we might expect, sometimes taking on strange pathways, but fun for all that. I'll end this podcast with a version of the song collected from Harry Cox of Norfolk.
When I was just an old bachelor, I followed the roving trade, and all the iron that e'er I done, I courted a servant maid. I courted her the summer season, and part of the winter too. And many's the time I rolled my love all over the foggy dew. One night as I lay in my bed, taking my balm of sleep, this pretty fair maid she came to me, how bitterly she did weep. She wept, she mourned, she tore her hair, crying, "Oh, what shall I do? For this night I resolved to sleep with you, for fear of the foggy dew." Now all the first part of the night, how we did sport and play. All in the next part of the night, she in me arms did lay. And when broad daylight did appear, she cried, "Alas, I am undone." Oh, hold your tongue, you foolish girl, for the foggy dew is gone. Supposing you should have a child, it'd make you laugh and smile. Supposing you should have another, it'd make you think a while. Supposing you should have another, and another one too, it'd make you leave off your foolish tricks and think of the foggy dew. I loved that girl with all my heart, loved her as I loved me life. And in the next part of the year, I made me lawful wife. I never told her of her faults, nor yet intend to do. But many's the time as she winks and smiles, I think of the foggy dew. I never told her of her faults, nor yet intend to do. But many's the time as she winks and smiles, I think of the foggy dew.